Hello, my name is EC Powers. For the past 2 performances, I've been keeping it a little low-key, and I thought we'd bring it up to something a little intense and ugly tonight. For anyone who's interested, they can, well, first bring up their contract, which, by the way, is only a piece of paper, to Maya at the front here. And then you can take the seat, and we'll begin. You look like a sadder version of an actor who sat in that chair last night. Very similar features, similar build, but you're much more intense. Maybe things have worn at you a bit more. Maybe you are an actor of some kind. But yeah, you have a very intense gaze. And part of that you can't help. It's just your sort of heavy brow. But part of that is just very intense, almost unblinking kind of stare. It's true, yeah. Which maybe, which is a little intense and weird for me, and maybe for other people too. But then you soften a bit. But you do have sad, worried lines all over you. I'm not generally like a face reader like that, but it's really apparent on you. Yeah, even that was a very kind of resigned, maybe. But you're not so grim. You can laugh. You can laugh about it at yourself. You're also the first person up. You didn't quite jump right out of the gate, but you are the first person up. You came here intent to sit in this chair. And also not all in black, all in blue. Maybe the same thing. Comfortable shoes. You're not a fancy guy. It's okay that you're not a fancy guy. Some people are fancy, and it causes them to suffer. And you are not a fancy person. But maybe you took a while to grow up. Yeah, it's possible. That's what I think of older men with ponytails, that they took a while to grow up. And that the ponytail is sort of the last remnant that they cling to before they slide into old age, and maybe they keep it forever. I mean, maybe you should keep it forever. This is sort of the middle hump, right? And then you'll drift into your golden years with a long gray or white ponytail, and you'll be like, this is mine. And you will deserve it. You know, we've got to hold on to something in this life. But you still have this intense and sort of weighty manner, even though you are smiling, and you can laugh at yourself, and you can laugh at this situation because it's completely ridiculous what's happening right now. But yeah, there's this weighty sadness. Also, you have very pretty eyes. Pretty is the word I would use. Like, there's something very almost womanly about them, just sort of the cast of them, which is really intense, contrasted with your brow immediately above them, which is so heavy. It's strange. That's kind of maybe like part of the tension in your face as well. Yeah, if somebody were to just go like, if somebody were to put you in a burqa, you would look completely like a woman. But I'm sure as most of us would. But particularly, like, maybe even sultry maybe is something that could be said about your eyes, which I must say is there's nothing sultry about the rest of you. It's really localized in here. But the eyes are the window to the soul. At least that's the cliche. But what you're like in your soul, I can't actually tell. Or maybe you are intense and kind of like moody and took a long time to grow up and sultry. Maybe that is what you are, whoa, it's a lot. Okay, I will ask you this. Is there anything specific you'd like me to speak to? I'll tell you the reason I can't. Keep it brief, because there are 2 microphones. And they're pointed at me. Okay.
So I want to learn how to be more honest with myself.
That is not a good reason to come to this show tonight. That's all you kind of have to put it with there. All I'm talking about, and all I'll talk about with any of you, is it's all made up in my head. And it really has nothing to do with you. I mean, it does, especially with strangers, on a really surface that I can project onto and have it reflect back at me.
I'm necessarily being accurate in being willing to say something that is awkward, uncomfortable, isn't what you think you normally supposed to say in sort of polite conversation or something like that.
Yeah, it's. I feel very not polite, but I'm not supposed to talk about me unless I'm actually talking about me, pretending to talk about you. But yeah, that's, don't take too much of what I say at face value. I mean, you're also performing, and you're also on stage right now.
And so that's part of the practice too.
Yeah.
To listen to what you say and decide whether I take it in or not.
Well, I don't know how much you've taken in, and that's probably a good thing, but you've borne it pretty well. I think I'm run dry on this one. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And so it begins. Is there anyone else who wants to try? Listen to a dummy say dumb things. Oh, this is okay. This is kind of a nice one. This is a bit of a relief because I've had exclusively positive interactions with you, and I kind of knew right away you were young, but then I wasn't sure. Like I was like, wait, no, she's like too responsible and like has her stuff together. Maybe she's like older. But you seem really like open and willing to try things and work, and that's not what I was like when I was your age, so that's impressive right there. I mean, yeah, what else do I think about you? I think that you're really interested in theater, like very particularly theater, which is also, that wasn't really, I touched my feet in it a bit, but I wasn't really to pitch in with it. And I think I had talked about this a bit yesterday with the actor, and also the stagehand. There's something about the culture of theater that's really, it's this strange combination of ego, except everybody's got to pitch in and work really hard and generally get none of the glamour. And you seem really kind of fine with that, which actually makes me want to give you more of the glamour stuff sooner. I'm like, no, take the glamour, like grab it. Like you're a young woman, and you should try and grab more of it, particularly because you don't seem like a diva or a flake or a catty, and that's really nice. Like, if you can grab more of those things, if you want them, maybe you don't, and also that's also a really good way to get them, to just sort of be like, no, I don't need that, and then people like me are like, no, take it, please. But yeah, you also seem to have really good boundaries, which is something that I lack. And I just say that mostly because you've been really good at doing the job that you've offered to do, but you also don't show up too early and you don't stick around too late, which is keep doing that. Keep doing that. That's important. Otherwise, people like me will be clinging to you, being like, please, I need your help with things that I could probably just do for myself. And I don't know, will you ever be that person who could just do it for themselves and have somebody else do it? I don't know. Because that's also, you seem very a cool energy, right? Like a kind of a cool, calm. This is, a lot of times I'll talk about people as hot or cool, and you seem to be very cool, and not so flappable, but maybe you're really good at just holding it inside also, right? I'm saying all these nice things about you and you're just kind of so it's a little nerve-wracking. But yeah, I mean, you're very good at this. Theater is full of people like me who are panicking over nothing, and you seem to be really, really calm about everything, which is really, really nice. You know, I've appreciated it a lot. This is not very exciting for the audience. There's no blood here, but yeah, I've just been really kind of like, I'm like, oh, cool, she'll do really well. Also, you're an actress. Yes, you are an actress. So yeah, you do want those things, and you do want to be on stage and maybe on camera, and just keep at it. But I can see that you're somebody who people will like a lot because you're really just sort of like amenable and competent, which is really good. You're also very beautiful, so you look very nice on stage or camera. So if you want those things, you can have it, but I guess just be really careful that that also doesn't ruin your perspective if it comes quickly, or if it doesn't come quickly and it comes very slow, don't let that discourage you either, because maybe you'll do everything right and it won't come at all, or it'll come in ways that you don't want, and it's up to you to choose whether you want to take it the way you didn't want or not. But I don't think that that should let you convince you I don't think I should let it convince me to stop. You shouldn't, you know, it might happen tomorrow. All your dreams will come true. It might take 20 years. That's just that's it, right? That's the stage and screen. But you seem very good at it. And what's the other trick to it? Oh yeah, practice. Just practice. Also, I don't know anything about your ability to act. Like, you're sitting and you're holding yourself, but there is a certain amount of vulnerability, right? I would never sit in that chair. I never ever would do anything like what you are doing right now, and you're bearing it well. But also, I think maybe part of the secret is to play roles you can inhabit, or that if it's hard for you to inhabit, that you just practice all the time until you can. But if you practice and practice and practice and you can't do it, maybe it's not the role for you also. I don't know. I actually am not an actress at all. Is there anything specific you want me to talk about? You got frightened.
No, I was going to say, where do you see me in 10 years?
I kind of, yeah. You could be in a lot of places, but it really depends on, how you want, it depends on chance and how you deal with chance. That's, yeah, don't beat yourself up over the whims of chance. But take it when it comes if you want it. Okay, that was nerve-wracking because you'll probably be my boss in 10 years. Is the truth of it. Yeah, no problem. Number 3. Okay, you're a charmer, and you are a fancy guy. You are a man who likes to dress finely and wear very nice shoes and does his hair. You're very clean. You've got a little bit of this, but it works, right? It works with you, although I could see if you had shaved, you'd be in kind of like a next level of like fresh, right? You'd be, and people treat you extra fresh when you look like that. You're laughing. You know it's true. I mean, maybe if you don't want to admit it all the time, I mean, that's maybe not the soundtrack in your head when you're walking down the street, but when you get dressed in the morning, you're like, I'm looking fresh. It's okay. You're a handsome guy. You're pretty. You also are a man with pretty eyes. It's starting to get a little bit of lines. You're getting older, but you're still fresh. It hurts you. It's funny, and it also hurts because you're very handsome and fresh. It's true. I'm sure you're very popular when you want to be. I'm sure you're popular when you don't want to be also. You're smiley. You're a smiley person. And if you are an actor, you're not like the first guy who was very kind of had a practice in it. You're not somebody who's got a practice to him. You're kind of, you're somebody who's going to get on camera and be like, that's okay. I mean, maybe you have like a fire burning inside you that will burn this whole theater down, but well, no, yeah, you don't think so. So it's not like that. It's more like a warm pile of kittens, some 6-week-old puppies. You saying no, but maybe you are bitchy sometimes. I think you're gay, but you could be, even if you're not gay or you're on the spectrum somewhere. You seem to have, you're very, like your cheeks are like apple cheeks almost and rosy, and you're just smiling, and even the lines in your face aren't like the kind of like worry lines. They're the like smiles too much and is laughing all the time lines, which is fine lines to have, right? Fine lines. But they're also, just keep smiling. Oh my goodness. Do you know how many people wish they could just smile right now? Feel like, they were like, why can't I smile? And here you are smiling, laughing. And also, look, you're laughing at me and you're laughing at yourself. Why did you decide to come up here and have this woman say all this stupid stuff about you? But it's true. You do like, you're flashy. You've got like that's a flashy ring. It's minimal and it's subtle, but it is also, it's different. It's flashy.
Just trying to impress you.
Well, I wish I could believe that. I want to believe that. See, you're so charming. I'm charmed that you would even say that. Utterly charmed. You would even say that. And I'm sure you make a lot of people feel like that. Utterly charmed. You would even pay attention, right? Whatever you do, it probably does involve talking to people and dealing with people, because you make people feel at ease. Maybe not. You got a little. Oh, you can get intense. Did anybody else see that? That was, you got a little intense there. So maybe you're one of those people who's just kind of like sailing along, and then like when you turn, it's like, where did that come from? Like I wouldn't want to. The contrast between this like smiling, handsome, funny guy with like nice clothes, fancy shoes, fancy jewelry, and then like. It's okay. Everybody's allowed to get mad too. I mean, somebody who never got mad. What is that? That. Well, not just boring. Also, maybe more scary. What's bubbling underneath there? Yeah, that's what I think of you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Next up. Oh, wow, I do know you. And here we have this dark rain cloud coming up with a black glass of wine. It's okay. It's okay. I like it. I remember we've known each other as acquaintances, and we could call each other friends, but when we hang out, it's like you're like a spirit that just sort of appears, and we have this, hello. It's never planned. It's never sort of like, let's get together. We inhabit the same. Our orbits cross. That's what it is. We inhabit two separate orbits, but they cross. They're in the same system, and we've never seemed to like collide like that. It's always just sort of these passing, like, hello. I feel we have an affinity. I have an affinity for you. I remember many years ago, maybe this might have been 10 years ago, around 10 years ago. It's a long time. We were both young and a little bit drunk at night, and you had my mom's purse, and we bonded over how we have the same mom. I don't know if you remember that at all, but that's something I always remember. Oh yeah, there's my half sister or whatever. Like, not we don't in real life have the same mom, but maybe weirdly we do. It's like a pokeroo scenario where we're time sharing her. And that's part of my feel. I don't have a sister that I was raised with, but it's kind of like I feel like maybe that's like somewhere in the relationship there of that kind of thing, just like, oh, I have affection for you, but like, oh, you're not around, whatever. And then like, I get where you're coming from. I feel like you get where I'm coming from. You're also very cool. So yeah, so like people, it's relative to me. I'm quite hot and you're quite cold in the way we interact with people. or to put it another way, like, I'm pretty hot and you're very cool. You know, you wear a lot of black. It's that kind of, yeah, you're a writer, you know, like you're a writer, you're a city girl, you are definitely an urban creature. You wear a lot of black. It's, I guess, maybe like the Wednesday Addams thing. That's the cultural touchstone for a lot of us, I know. It is for me, at least. You're bearing this very well. I mean, I kind of can't believe you even are doing this, but in some ways it makes sense, because we're not tight buds. It's not like you're texting me when something happens and you need to, like, drink a glass of wine on a couch in front of a shitty movie. Like, we're not that kind of friends, even though we've known each other for at least a decade. That's totally bizarre. But it's also not bizarre. This is something I talked about in the first show, this weird thing that happens in city life. It's not like a small town where it's like, oh, like we're always around each other. Like, it's the city thing where it's like, oh, there you are. Like, maybe we've seen each other like 24 times in our entire lives. I think that might be possible. But it's over this course of years, and we have so many friends in common, and then there's these weird experiences that overlap. Very funny. I'm probably seeing all these things, and you're like, what is she talking about? Because I also find you very hard to read, too. That's part of the kind of cool thing. And also being a writer, you know, like you're a watcher, and you observe, and you kind of keep it inside, and then you transform it into something. And so you're also very mysterious in that way, to me, which is a complete contradiction, that I have these filial feelings, and then at the same time you're also like an utter an utter mystery to me, which is a simile and not a metaphor. Yeah, I like the way you dress. You're very recognizable to me from far away. Oh, there's Alex. And it's always a pleasure to run into you. And too short. I've never found a good way in. I've never found a good way to, except for that night when we were joking about the purse. I've never found a good way to, like, kind of crack that shell, which is fine. I'm not, like, I don't think either of us is gonna disappear forever anytime soon, although, oh my goodness, you can never tell with people. But yeah, I hope I see you around. I'm sure we've got plenty of time to meet on a park bench again. But that's my problem, maybe, that I don't know how to, like, crack that. Crack, what a terrible metaphor right there. Anyway, I slowed down. I got really shy. Sometimes you also make me feel really shy and self-conscious, which you're probably not trying to do. I think that's just, like, the way you are. You kind of have this very, like, cool, just sort of, like, observing. You don't say too much, even though you're very good with words. I mean, and you have a very cutting wit also, which is also very scary, like, to hear that cutting wit and then to be like, oh. I'm too nervous to ask you if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, so I think I'm all done for now. But I really appreciate that you came up on stage. That actually means a lot to me. Maybe we can hang out later. It would be really nice. Oh, you already know what I think of you.
You're going to tell me what you really think.
Well, I'm obligated. It's part of the agreement here. And maybe, I think so you're a package deal, so it's also very intense to have the split. You're not just Kay, you're Peter and Kay. And for those of you who know me, I'm sure you've heard about how much I admire this woman and this couple. And you've been so kind to me and so supportive. And I know it's not just me. I know that you're kind and supportive to so many young people. And you have been throughout your lives. So yeah, I'm sure many things I think about you that I think you know and that you don't know at all. I was really, part of the reason I came to visit you in California that first time was I was so touched by the letter that the two of you wrote. And I know it was the Christmas letter that gets sent to everybody, because I understand how many people you know. And it was a really beautiful letter, and really, I was also going through something that year, and it really touched me in a way where I, just like that really classic stuff of live for what you believe in and live for today, and people are very precious, and they go away, they disappear, and when life ends, that's it. I've known you for, oh my goodness, well over a decade now. Not well, I mean, it's a slow...
Way over a decade.
Yeah, well over a decade. Not quite 2 decades, but we'll get there.
Neither of us is that old.
Yeah, we'll get there. And so it was very, I haven't had too many relationships with older people, like much older people in my life. So you have a bit of sort of like a grandparent feeling to me, and also just like as elders, it's also we live in a world where more and more people live to be elders, but I have very few elders in my life, and also to all of the younger people whose lives you touch, it's very, it's very intense to be like, oh yeah, like you two are aware of it now too. That letter, I've gotten your Christmas letters before, and this one in particular was, I don't know if I should even call it a Christmas letter. It was, a year in review. But I think you are both too well-traveled and, what's the word for it? Progressive, rational in your thinking to, I think it's a year in review. Even though we all know that the year is arbitrary as well. But yeah, it was very an intense moment for me to be like, oh yeah, people disappear, and if the time is right, just go. And what else can I say to that? I mean, you're very quiet, and so very classic kind of still waters run deep, but it's also very interesting to spend time with the two of you, not just for a lunch or an afternoon, but extended time, where kind of you two understand, like, you're very gracious hosts, and you're so generous with your time. And then it was also very touching to me when it's sort of like you let it slip a little, and you just kind of to watch you two in your routines as older people who've been together their entire lives, pretty much. And that's also something that's really touching to watch. Most of us don't get to see that. I mean, even people's parents, unless they're living with them in the same house, well into adulthood, don't usually see that kind of interaction. And just like the brief glimpses of it was really interesting and really human, in the sense of like humans are animals too.
Parents have a real disadvantage.
You know what? The craziest thing is, I don't even really know what you mean. Like I do, but I don't really, because your experience is so completely outside mine. It's also something, hanging out with the two of you, and really I do have, like, I admire you so much, but you so clearly come from another world that doesn't exist anymore and is changing so much. And I don't just mean like we have computers in our pockets either. It's a very different world. And I feel very lucky that I've been able to see, especially the part of the world that you're from with you as well, and kind of understand this sort of, this change that's happened, not just there, but other places as well. It's very, I'm not like you at all. I'm much more like your husband. A lot of talk, and then racing to catch up to it. Sorry, you do come as a package. But I'm not like you. You seem very, very quiet and focused. And I don't think methodical is the right word, because you love animals so much. It's almost like the method you're working with is really just sort of like another tool. And that you're really getting at is just somebody who really just wants to be around animals and nature as much as possible, and healing them and caring for them, which is which is also, it's so funny that you, as a couple, you're so rational about things, but at the same time with animals, you have this very, for the first, cautious about, you know, not very generous and good hosts. And you're my grandmother, who I go visit when I go to visit you guys, last year taught me something very important, that it's very important to also to know how to receive graciously as well. But you're both so competent that that's like a fine line, you know, like I can't, time is finite, and you guys have a lot of people who care about you. And also, you probably need a lot of time for yourselves. It seems like it. Maybe that's another thing that I feel like a lot of what you've been able to do is because you have somebody who supports you so much in it. Just even watching the two of you write together. And really, like it, sometimes with people, they'll have like a couple's email address and I'm not really sure who I'm talking to, and that's definitely like I know who I'm talking to, it's both of you. Which is like you're kind of like, oh, I think this is it, and then Peter's like, no, just like this. And you're like, oh, okay, and then maybe we'll do this. And it's really, which is really intense. Like it's very rare. It's also not like, oh, it's because you're older that you come from a better time that you're like that. It's really different compared to a lot of people's lives, which is really interesting to watch. You also kind of you're one of those couples that like looks alike too. Like you've probably especially grown to look alike, which is, maybe you always looked alike. But that's also funny too. You'll see that with all kinds of people. When they like really look alike, it's like, oh yeah, they've merged. Which is like, oh, it's interesting. Maybe I'm too individualistic for that.
I think you have to see my larger half next.
That's intense, yeah, because I figured I couldn't completely talk about the both of you at the same time. So maybe I'm gonna have to stop with this one now.
I have one question.
I will allow it to you because of my great respect for you. Yes, I will allow that.
I'm just wondering, in your situation,
Yes.
whether you find it easier to deal with people you know or people you haven't met. Or you tell us what you really think of this.
It really depends on the person. I think the first gentleman up, I'm really letting people talk in this one. The first gentleman up kind of hit it on the head where it depends on how somebody's receiving it. It really does. I could have somebody who I've known for a long time, and it's very easy to kind of just be like, this is what I think. And then I can have somebody else I've known for a really long time, and it's like, oh, I'm going to have to say some things, and I think you're ready to hear them, but did you know when you sat on this chair? I mean, I know that you two can handle that, like, definitely, like, you make me think about the getting older and life in this, like, finite time scale. You are both, like, you understand. That's, like, you've made statements talking about that really clearly, but sometimes there's strangers who make me feel really uncomfortable, and I want to please them, or I want to get them out of that chair as soon as possible. And sometimes there's people I know who I want to please them, or I want to get them out of that chair as soon as possible. And then there's other people, whether I know them or not, where it's just a story that flows. So, and maybe I don't even know the difference while I'm up here, because these bright lights and two microphones and cameras, and I'm wearing an obnoxious dress. Okay, I think we have more. We have more to get to. I thank you. Yeah, we'll talk again. I hope we'll talk again. Please. It's very intense to have somebody who's like a hero to me in many ways on stage. Really. Hello. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, you're a glamorous lady. I think, yeah, you are. You are a glamorous. Well, you say no, but you're looking fancy. Your nails are done. Your hair is done. The lipstick matches the nails. The earrings sparkle. You're a fancy lady. You know how to be a fancy lady. And you know how to be a fancy lady. There are probably days when you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I feel gross. But then you wake up and you're like, and I'm going to get fancy. And you did. You did get fancy, and it looks good, and you should own it. I mean, trust me, I don't think women need to make themselves fancy every day if they don't want to, but if it feels good and it's like a power suit for you, then take it, right? Because I'm sure there's like lots of people who don't want to make you feel powerful. So take that little piece when you can. You remind me very much of a friend of mine who I'm like, get it. I'm like, get it, you know, and you should get it. You should get what you want. Yeah, I like your smile. You know, you came up not nervous at all. And I think that that's also, you know, so you clearly have some power in you, right? Why you want to hear what I think of you, I have no idea. But I think you maybe like being on camera, you know, it's a glamour shot. We're getting a glamour shot, and you look good. Yeah, what else? You're young. You're a young woman, and yeah, you look at that and you know it. Some people are kind of like, when I say they're young, and some people are like, and so yeah, you're a young woman. I think you actually do have like quite a while to grow up, but you've got it together, right? You're not a mess. And I also think that you don't need this from me either, right? For the most part, I think the people coming up on stage don't need this from me. And you're curious. You're also not doing me a favor. I think like some people, it's a bit of like I'm gonna do this. No, tonight, I don't know if anybody's doing me a favor. Maybe you were doing me a favor, but I think you do want to know. But yeah, you're not doing me any favors. You're curious, and I think it's like, I don't know if you realize this, but it bodes very well for you that you're like able to do this and come up and sit in front of these cameras and this ridiculous person who's going to talk about you, really just talking about what I think about like this, because I don't know you at all, right? Yeah, you're a good girl also, right? Like your parents are probably proud of you, but they maybe also like, you know, they want to be a little prouder of you too, maybe, you know. Yeah, they want to be a little prouder of you. That's okay. You're young. It's not easy to like wake up and just like have it made. Like that rarely happens. It almost never happens. And when it does, sometimes like it's over too soon. So, you know, slow build, you've got it together, and eventually you'll get what you want, and it'll be really solid as opposed to fleeting, I hope. You seem like you're not gonna spend it all on, who knows, you know, like cocaine, you know, like you don't seem like, you know, like, yeah, it's possible, but don't let that be you. Yeah, I think that you like, I'm sure you do like to have a good time, and I don't mean like piles of cocaine. I'm sure you do like to have a good time though, and that's not like, that's also not, that's not shocking or unbelievable. Also, like you're probably somebody who can handle a good time every now and then, and still like get up and do the things that need doing, like clean it. You can clean up your own messes, and even though you're young, you've probably done it before. You've had that experience. You've cleaned up your own mess before, so that's good, right? That's great. And actually, this is probably like one of the harder times of your life. You know, maybe like junior high was harder, but this will probably be one of like just the kind of like building and like self-questioning and being like, I'm not fancy. Oh God, do I have to be fancy? I want to be fancy. Like that will be over eventually, and then you'll just be fine. But this is, you know, this is the hustle, right? You're in the hustle right now. So, but you seem to be doing quite well. I believe it. You could, if you told me anything in a confident tone of voice, I would believe it. I would. So. Yeah, just careful not to be meek about it. Just be like, it's not this. See, you're still young. You're still young. Yeah, you're still young. It's not like, okay. It's like, yeah, that's right. It's okay. You can be a little scary if you want, because you're also like, you're smiley. You're a really smiley young woman. So the smile will kind of like, if you strike a little fear into their hearts, the smile will be like, okay, cool. She still loves me. I'm sure people like want you to love them too. Like you seem really just kind of like, yeah, you've got that. My friend who was up here before, very cool. You're not cool. You're very like warm and probably into the very hot as well sometimes when you want. But, you know, doesn't mean you're not chill. Okay, I think, yeah, okay, go for it. Anything that you want to ask of me? To address. Also, you don't have to. You could just be like, no, I'm good. Okay, good. Yeah, you are good. You are good. Thank you. This is my final show of these, and the third night in a row I'm doing these, and I've done them as like a 5-hour marathon before, which becomes this sort of like intense feedback loop that happens, but it's different to be doing it 2 nights in a row. It's a whole other kind of intense, which doesn't mean it needs to stop. What time are we at, Maya?
It's 8:43.
Wow, so we have time for 1 more, maybe 2 more. Who's it going to be? Now or never, folks. Okay, hello. Okay, you look like a grad student. It's the glasses, definitely. Yeah, this is also interesting. It's interesting for me to have these nights that are separate nights, because you have a very, very, very similar look to a guy who was up here yesterday, except your shoes are in better condition. You're wearing like way more expensive and nicer boots. He was wearing crappy sneakers. And so his crappy sneakers just made him look so broke. And you look just like a little step up in terms of like having resources. And it's the boots. That's totally crazy. I mean, he was very like Euro looking. But it was the stripy shirt that really did it for me. But aside from that, like, you could be the same guy, really. Same really nice, different style of glasses. Yours are even a bit more grad school. But like you clearly have taste, and aesthetics are important to you. I would even say you're probably less OCD than the guy last night, because he had stripy socks to match his stripy shirt, and even though he was like put a little bit less money into his clothing, he had definitely put a lot more time into matching the socks with the shirt, as close as you could get it. And you definitely look like a summertime guy, even though it's freezing cold out today. But it's like casual, like not casual Friday, like really casual. Even though the shirt is like a nice shirt, and the shorts are nice shorts, and the boots are nice. Like the boots are kind of almost pre-distressed a little bit. Like they look older, but they don't look like they're falling apart. So yeah, like where does this put you on the yuppie spectrum? I don't really know. I would definitely put you more in grad school than in like lead team of web development of an advertising agency. Not that that's not possible, but you definitely seem a bit more in kind of the like reading and thinking spectrum of things, which is of course a life of leisure in a way, even though it drives the mind crazy as well and is full of all sorts of torment. Especially torment because you realize how leisureful it is and how short that time is. But yeah, you seem a little relaxed, but also more nervous now that you're up here, and I'm really going for it. Because it also kind of, I mean, you know about yuppies and hipsters and whatever dismissive terms people use, but you don't want to necessarily be like, yeah, but you also kind of know sometimes, yeah, like when you go in and you're like, I'm getting the nice glasses and the nice boots, and yeah, I had a job too once, and the shopping then was great, and this is all to say that, I think that you recognize that there's things wrong with shopping and that there's more to life than shopping, but at the same time, you also really like nice things. You're not much different than me in that. And it's tough, it's tense, right? I mean, that's a tension that you are still coming to terms with, nice things and conformity, and then burning the system down and challenging the oppressive machines that, are destroying not just other people, but the planet that sustains all of us. And those things, but it's really hard to wake up in the morning and there's like, I need to get glasses, and I could get the really nice ones, and I'm only getting 1 pair every 2.5 years because that's what the insurance covers or whatever. Maybe you get more, who knows? But which is, I guess, to say that you're just kind of like a normal urban dude of a certain class, and, you know, whether you fought your way into it, or whether, you know, your parents fought their way into it for you, or whether you just sort of, you know, you ended up there and you have no idea how, but it's where you are and it's really hard to leave, you know. To migrate up or down, we have some control over that, but also it usually requires some kind of choice that's hard, because it's easier to be comfortable. I'm really talking about myself right now. So also, you know, I'm talking about you, but I'm really projecting right now a lot. But I think like the stuff I'm projecting onto you and like my neuroses and anxieties about my status as a user and oppressor is probably not so different from things you concern yourself with often. Yeah, and the concern might just be in your head as you're drinking a $4 coffee, but you can get a good one for $3. You can get a decent one for $3. The best place is it's $2.50, $2.75, and you know it's a cup of coffee. But Tim Hortons, you know. Anyway, we all have our guilty pleasures, whether they're high or low. And I'm making fun of myself more than I'm making fun of you, but I am making fun of you too. Because I would just naturally assume these things about you upon seeing you sit in this chair in front of me. But you're a good sport. I mean, you're sitting through it. You're taking it. You're absorbing my it's not so much self-hate as a little bit of self-loathing. We're all just cogs in this machine, and we're trying to do the best we can every moment we have to do it and to help others along the way. But man, you know, like, you can't even buy a cup of coffee without screwing someone. So, and then, yeah, that's a bummer. So I'm sure you get pretty bummed about it too. Yeah, it's like maybe more bummed than you want to be, but then you get up and soldier on, and, you know, what you're going to do about it, I can't tell you. I mean, like, I don't know you. Probably, I'm talking about myself right now, not much. But, you know, baby steps, all of us baby steps, and then some giant ecological disaster will strike, and we'll just be forced to change our ways anyway. So then we're really off the hook, right? So, wow, that's good. I think I'm done. I think I'm done with you, but I really appreciate you letting me ride that wave for a while, and I think we can do at least one more. Hello. Okay, another stranger. I would not describe you as a yuppie or a hipster at all. I think there's something very elfin about you, definitely, and you can't help that at all. It wouldn't matter what you're wearing. Very elfin. Yeah, why are you in this chair right now? I think you're interested in performance and theater. That's why you're here, like most people. But what you want from this, I'm not so sure. Because you're very cute, and part of being like elfin and cute is that it's like harmless, right? People treat you like you're very harmless, but you're not. Like, you're thinking about this, like you can't hide it very well, but you're like, oh, why am I here? And also, like, what are you talking about? But you are also bearing it well. We haven't even gotten so far into it, though. You're a little more nervous than most people, and that's okay, because this is a nerve-wracking experience. I would never ever sit in that chair, and you're a braver person than I am, really, for doing it. So what else do I think of you? You are also somebody you're probably my age. Like, not everybody who's been up here is my age, but you are probably around my age, but you seem very, very young, and people probably treat you like you're very young often. Yeah, they do treat you like you're very young, and you get carded, and also people are maybe dismissed, not rudely dismissive, but just sort of like anticipate that you're a young person anyway. With what you're wearing now, like, it's just because I'm kind of really looking that I'm like, yeah, you're probably around my age. But you could be older, you could be really young, and if people aren't really paying attention to you because you haven't sat down on a chair and they've got to tell you exactly what they think of you, I think it would be really easy to just kind of like walk on by. which is actually not a bad place to be, right? I mean, it's useful to be able to be a face in the crowd that doesn't have to necessarily stick out unless you want to, right? Like you can make that choice, and maybe you do, but I think you kind of prefer to also be able to. So my friend who was sitting up here, the very cool one, Alex, in the black outfit with the wine, she was she's clearly observing, and it's not like obvious you're observing. You're not obviously observing. It's just sort of, I think because you're young and smiley. That's what being youthful and smiley does, right? Like people are just like, oh, they're happy. They must be dumb, which you're not dumb, but like it's really easy to dismiss people who seem young, childlike and happy. Not childish, childlike and happy. So that's maybe something you kind of have to demonstrate or win from people, that particular kind of respect of like, no, I actually like think about things and have processed this and like have some definite opinions and skills to share. I'm sure that's something that you have to like speak up for and make really clear sometimes, because yeah, you're really cute and young, and you have like really like a kid, like a kid. One of the first men who came up here, who was like the really handsome guy who was really smiley and was laughing the whole time. He's smiley and laughy, but he's a big man. And so big men just take up a lot more space right away. So of course it's a big man. All right, man, he must be competent at something. It's nothing against him. He can't help that. That's just that's what we think. Oh, big. But you're a smaller woman who's smiley and looks like a kid. So it's easy to be like, oh, this kid over here, get an adult on the scene. But that's okay, because you probably are actually very focused on things you care about, like most of us, right? But you're not incompetent, and you're not dumb, and you're not a fool. You just like, well, I don't really know that. I mean, it's entirely possible, but despite the fact that I would, if I didn't have to be sitting here and talking to you like this, I would very easily have totally dismissed you, unless we sat down and had a conversation and there was like a reason to be like, hey, what's going on? But then again, who knows? Like, maybe I would very easily dismiss everyone if I didn't know them. Just be like, oh, whatever. Very rare exceptions. Depends on what we're all looking for. Yeah. Is there anything specific you want me to talk about?
So you had someone who wanted to know where you saw them in 10 years. I sort of want the opposite.
Oh. Wow. You seem so like childlike now. I can't imagine that you'd be much different. Maybe a little more peppy. Shy? It shocks me. You being shy. That's funny. It's also, I mean, yeah, you seem a little like up, but you being shy is interesting. But why not, right? Of course, maybe shy and maybe feeling a little bit like you didn't have anything to really offer, or that maybe like you didn't want to put yourself out there or at risk because other kids would be like, meh. And actually like maybe say things very similar to what I'm saying to you now. But as an adult, you're taking it just fine. You're like, whatever, this is dumb. Like, you're an idiot. And of course, people like treat me like a kid. I look like I'm 12. Like, that just happens. But yeah, people do. I'm sure people I'm sure there's some people when they find out how old you are, they're like, what? Because I would easily think you're 12, and not now. But you're too adult in your manner right now. But if you like, put on like shorts and a big t-shirt and a baseball cap, like all of a sudden, yeah, totally. It would just be like, what's going on? The nose ring might be like, oh, maybe it's a tomboy, but what's going on? This is a kid. Why are they driving a car and buying a lot of alcohol? I don't think you drink a lot of alcohol. You just need to have a card that proves your age to do that in this country. Yeah, as a kid, okay, you were shy, interesting, and you had to tell me you were shy, so you're proud that you've gotten over that, and you should be proud you've gotten over that, because all the things you were shy about when you were a kid were probably like not actually real, and had more to do with other people and their opinions, which, by the way, like my opinion, are utterly useless. Other people and their opinions. This entire exercise, like if there are any positive things that come out of that, that's an amazing accident. And any negative things that come out of that, you just let it go, because this is an utterly meaningless exercise. But yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, maybe your childhood was a little bit painful because of the shyness, and maybe not it might have it probably took you to your adulthood to really like feel you are who you are. And I don't know, that's not everybody. Like if I'm making it sound like that's everybody's life, it's not. Some people are just like, I'm me. I'm 5 years old and I'm going to tell you who I am. And then maybe you were like that when you were 5, and then maybe for a little while it got, not, if not literally, then metaphorically beaten out of you by other kids. But that's kids. Kids are wonderful and so full of goodness, and terrible and the worst little creatures. Kids are people too. They do all kinds of things. And yeah, I could see you being into sports also, maybe a little, like, sports. If there's something you were good at, then I could definitely see that being something that you would get into, because you can't be challenged on that. And it doesn't matter whether it's sports or whatever it was, you probably, as a shy kid, retreated into it a lot, because that's a thing you can do yourself that other people can't take away from you, right? And that's probably serves you really well as an adult who continues to look really young. Yeah, and giggles, and you can't hold it in. Like you're not made of ice. You're not a stone, and you're not practiced in that. Like, you have no poker face at all. There's no poker face here. Yeah, you're giggling now. Not as badly as that big guy. See, like, even that big guy who was out here, like, it was like, oh no, don't dismiss him. He's a large man. Like, was giggling way more than you are, so. I guess, like, you win the poker face competition, although that's not much competition for the poker face. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that was our last one for the evening, and that wasn't so bad. That was all right. I was a little nervous. It was a little bit of a roller coaster for me sometimes. But I'm very grateful to all of you for coming and indulging me in this very silly exercise. And I appreciate it very much, and I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you.